What's going on, everybody? My name is Alan Kleiner. I'm currently a hackathon intern and cloud developer intern here at Wolfram Research. Just recently hired on not too long ago, and I kind of wanted to talk to you all about Wolfram technologies, specifically Wolfram Language and the Wolfram Programming Cloud, which is the interface to program in the Wolfram language. So for those of you who may not be aware, Wolfram language is pretty powerful. It's essentially a very comprehensive language that can do honestly anything. And since I am a new hired on intern, I was kind of tasked with learning the language, and kind of like learning any new language. I thought it would be daunting, and by no means am I still an expert, but there are so many great resources for the language, for the programming cloud, and I kind of wanted to help show off some of those so that you all are aware of them. A little bit about me. So I study computer science right now in school, and I've been very big into kind of the hackathon scene for some time, probably for the past year or so. I've been to hackathons all over the country, from Michigan to Indiana to Pennsylvania to Illinois, you name it, I've been there and done that. So my primary focus though is web development, which sort of made learning the Wolfram language very interesting, especially as a hacker, as I would consider myself. The Wolfram language, I had to figure out kind of use cases and see exactly, Wolfram, Wolfram Alpha does your math homework for you, right? But it does a lot more than that. So that's kind of just a little bit about me. Hopefully I'll show you guys some examples of what exactly it can do. Like I said, I by no means am an expert at the language. I'm kind of learning it. I'm still learning it and always learning new things about it. But I kind of want to just show exactly what is out there and what are some of the things that it can do. So to get started, I have here pulled up the actual main Wolfram Programming Cloud page, and what you'll notice is that there are a lot of buzzwords here, and for good reason too. So when you talk about absurdly fast development and deployment, the Wolfram language can do that very quickly. You can develop very, very robust and powerful applications and deploy them on literally a few lines of code. There's a lot of talk about symbolic programming, etc. What is that? I can get into that later, but the idea is that you can do a lot with the Wolfram language, and so everything is built into it, which makes it super powerful, super cool. Honestly, anything from machine learning. So if you want to build a classifier function and train it on a data set, you can do that in one line of code. If you want to do any sort of visualizations, you can do that in like 1 or 2 lines of code. If you want to do geomapping or weather data, which I'll show you guys in a little bit, you can do that in 1 or 2 lines of code. So the point being is that the Wolfram language can do a lot, and some of the things that are especially cool that you can do with it are actually cloud functions. So a lot of things that you can develop in the Wolfram language you can eventually deploy to the cloud, and I'll show you guys some of what you can do with that later. One of the coolest parts about it too is that you can also do API, you can create instant RESTful APIs based off some sort of Wolfram language input or function in 1 line of code, and you can deploy that to the cloud in 1 line of code, and you can then use those APIs in JavaScript or whatever language you want to use to call those APIs. So in essence, like, this language is super, super powerful. There's a lot going on with it, and also please bear with me if I do mess up as I'm kind of showing you guys around, but there's a lot of cool stuff going on. So I guess enough of me talking about what's cool about it. Let's see exactly what you can do with it. So let's go in here into the Wolfram Programming Cloud. So this is the main interface. Obviously I've signed in already. If you go to programming.wolframcloud.com, you can go ahead and sign in there. If you don't have an account, create an account, sign in. It'll get you started with some free credits so that you can start writing code and deploying it to the cloud just fine. So Yeah, a little bit about the interface real quick. It's really a comprehensive file system as well. So primarily you'll work in what are called notebooks. Those notebooks are the main interfaces for writing code. And then you can have those saved here in your file system, I guess. So yeah, there you go. You have folders here, you have deployments, whether they're web forms, web computations, APIs, embeddable code, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot you can do graphically as well. And then there's some cool stuff going on here also in the examples gallery too, which I can show you guys in a little bit as well. But first, let's just get started real quick. Let's create a new notebook, click on that, and as it loads, awesome. So like I was just talking about, this is the primary notebook interface for the programming cloud. So you will write all Wolfram language code in here. So for starters, just to see how it works, if you type in 2 + 2, hold down Shift, hit Enter, it'll evaluate that for you. So that's just kind of one example of an expression. If you want to do 1,000 factorial, hold down Shift, hit Enter, it can do that for you as well. You can also assign these to variables, so you can say x equals 2 factorial times 5, let's say, and it'll go ahead and say that, and then if you type in x back, it should give you 10. So now you can see here you do all of your computation in what are called cells. So let's see if I can scroll down here. Yeah, so you can do like a Wolfram language input, which is the default. You can do freeform input, and all of these have built-in shortcuts here for you to go ahead and do that. So now you can also look at prime factorization. So factor integer 10, bam, it gives you that back. So that's kind of, we're just getting started here, which is pretty cool. So now let's see some examples of how to use the cloud. So the main function that you can start to use is cloud deploy. And in here you can also see examples. There's built-in documentation to this. So if you just hit enter on that and then you see that down arrow right here, you can actually hit the down key, or you can click on it. And you can go ahead and take a look here that it deploys, you can hit cloud deploy an expression, and we can actually take a look at the documentation a little bit to see what are some examples of expressions in a little bit. But let's say we want to just deploy hello world to the cloud, shift enter. Now it gives you back this, what's called the cloud object, and if you click on it, that's pretty easy. In one line of code you can do that. Let's say we want to build a form that does the following. So let's say here again, built-in documentation. Let's take a look here. Okay, so form function, let's do this. So let's say we want to go back and actually build a form that factors integers and then try to deploy that to the cloud. So let's take a look here. So name, let's call this num. Type, so type would be integer. So you can see it autofills for you, super nice and easy. And now this ... stands for optional parameters. So if you have additional parameters, don't worry about it too much. You can keep going if you want. Now here we can just do then factor integer of num. And hopefully this is fine. Let's actually go ahead and say, let's call this web form equals that. Let's evaluate that. Argument num is not an exact number. Cool. So in this case, then we can go ahead and pull up the documentation. Let's hit enter here, and we can go to form function. We can take a look at this. So here it has some examples here, which are really nice. Okay, perfect. So it's actually numbers then what it's called, not integer. So if we go back here, okay, and let's go ahead and go back here, and let's say that it's a number. So let's try doing that instead. Let's see what it says now. Number is incomplete. Oops, one extra thing. Is not an exact number, huh? Let's try that. Let's try deploying it regardless. Form function. Let's cloud deploy. Actually, let's say web form, and see what happens here. Let's try hitting 10. Factor integer num 10. Okay, let's take a look again. Oh, I see. Wait 1 second. No, that's right. Num integer. Number, yeah, factor, integer, num, argument, num, and factor, integer, mode is not an exact number. Let's see here. So, I mean, either way, we can take a look at examples here. So let's say we'll find some neat examples or applications. There, that works too. So you can go ahead and actually, we can copy and paste this. If it lets us, cool. Let's do this example for just kind of for kicks and gigs. So let's go in here and let's actually do this. Okay, so let's try doing that. And it should give us back a cloud object. Perfect. So then example would be like, let's say JFK to Chicago O'Hare. And so what these mean, that these are smart fields. So you can kind of just type in an airport name, kind of typical name of what it's known by, and then here you go. It gives you back an image, a PNG specifically, of a line between Chicago and New York. So that's pretty cool. You can do a little bit more than that too, which I don't know if I'll have all the time to show you guys. I just want to kind of give you a quick example of what you can do. But let's say if we wanted to look up classifiers here, so we'll go back to the language reference, which is here, and then let's look up something like classify. Bam. So in here you can actually build a classifier function literally from scratch, all in with this classify function. If you provided a training set and then you tell it, it'll figure out what's exactly the best way to classify it, whether it's logistic regression or whether it's, forest, trees and forests, whatnot. So yeah, it'll go ahead and classify things for you, which is kind of cool. So here, classifier function again. So there's a lot going on here, and that's just machine learning stuff. I mentioned that we can deploy instant APIs in this API function call. It'll give you an example here. So bam, right there is if you just specify func equals API function of x to an integer, factor integer of x. See, there you go. That's what I had wrong missing before, is I wanted to do pound x, which signifies I wanted to do factor integer of the variable. That's a part of the API function. So that's what I messed up. So yeah, you can go ahead and do that, and this ampersand, I believe, signifies the end of the function of what you want to do. And bam, yep, there you go. And you can go ahead and deploy that API, and you can see it tells you here the deployed API function can be invoked by accessing the cloud object in a web browser and appending this query string to the end of it. And it'll give you back that, and you can go ahead and parse it in whatever language you want. So that's sort of just kind of scratching the surface of what's available in the Wolfram language. Hopefully you guys found that interesting. Obviously there's plenty more going on than what I showed you. There's, for example, there's weather data built in. You can literally say weather data, and let's say we want to look up the temperature in Houston. So we go ahead and type Houston temperature, evaluate that. There you go, 12 degrees Celsius. And then if you want to be able to deploy that as an API, you can go ahead and say API function of that. And obviously all of the syntax, etc., is given here. The documentation is fantastic. And if you want to deploy that API function, you can do that as well. So like I said, I'm just kind of starting to scratch the surface a little bit. The main things are obviously cloud deploy, API function. Machine learning seems to be a really popular one for hackers everywhere. So yeah, I definitely recommend playing around with it. And like I said, if you are someone who's interested in kind of learning more about our hackathon resources, we actually have a website dedicated all to them. It's wolfram.com/hackathons. Yeah, and there you go. So at MHacks, we had the winners, no big deal. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff going on. That's really exciting. You can see somebody made 2048 using Wolfram Language. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. So take a look at examples, take a look at documentation, see what's out there, and hopefully you'll see exactly, or actually I know you'll see exactly the value that's in the language. So I think that's all I got for now, so enjoy, and happy hacking.